Hey guys, welcome back to Cardio Chats, the show where it's basically just a solo podcast where I'm doing my cardio and talking about stuff that I'm interested in. This is the third session of Cardio Chats, and I like to keep it along similar lines of just talking about health, fitness, wellness, and then some of my personal interests. I'm sure that some of you have noticed that on training videos and honestly just all my videos, I'm using more of like a different color grade, and that's because I'm messing around with like some film emulation stuff. So if you've seen a lot of my videos and you've seen some of my previous videos, let me know if you're a fan of the film emulation. I know that it's kind of jarring at first, like it's a lot different looking than my normal color grading process, but I really enjoy the look of films, and I would like my content to look as like professional and really like more stylized than most other fitness YouTubers, because I feel like a lot of fitness YouTubers, like they're not really making it for the color grading, and that of course makes sense because like you guys are here for the fitness content, not videography or color grading content or anything like that, so that definitely makes sense. But I'm really into that stuff, and I kind of want my content to be as unique to me as I can possibly make it. So I'm always looking for ways to make it into my own. Like I'll just spend like the last hour before bed just laying in bed, not actually like going to bed yet, but just brainstorming ideas for my YouTube channel. That's how passionate I am about all this stuff. And a lot of my ideas don't actually come to fruition because they're either too far out there for the scope of what I have right now, or they're just too complex. Like I would love to have like a 3-camera setup at the gym. That'd be super sick, but that's way too much. That takes up way too much space. It's outside my budget. I can't afford to have like a camera crew and everything like that. But I'm getting high off of the thrill of thinking of ideas. I wonder if anything is like that in your guys' lives. You know, before I really had true hobbies that I was super passionate about, I was much more miserable. You know, hobbies are like the best free drug, healthy drug. You know, just waking up and being so excited to do something. Like for instance, I used to do so many different morning routines. I would have like at least an hour to 2 hour long morning routine. I'd wake up, like do a red light, hit the cold plunge, go for a little run in the morning, come home. No, I would journal on the run, and then come home, and then read a little bit, and then make breakfast, and then go to the gym. It's like, you know, a 1 to 3 hour morning routine if you're counting the gym in there or not. And nowadays I just wake up and I just get straight to editing because it's just so much fun to improve and get creative and become better at this process. So if any of you are struggling to find a hobby, maybe you don't have a hobby yet that you're super into, I'm assuming that it's lifting if you're watching this channel, because that's how my passion for fitness started. I was like 14 or 15, and my dad took me to the gym for the first time. I just fell in love with it, and ever since then I was obsessed with watching YouTube videos, just digesting as much information as I possibly could on this art form that we call lifting weights and exercising. And then it kind of became, I was really into video games for a while, and then it blossomed from there, you know, music, guitar, photography, videography, et cetera. But what I'm trying to get at here is that having a hobby that you're really interested in, and when you wake up in the morning, you're just so passionate, just so ready to get into it, is like the best thing ever. So if you can't find it, I'm sure that if you haven't found it yet, rather, then I'm sure that you will eventually, because I believe that everybody does have a true calling in some regard, even if you don't find too much interest. And you'll know when you find it. When you find it, it'll just click and you'll be like, oh yeah, this is it. And maybe it'll take some experimenting first. Like regarding videography, it didn't click the same way that lifting clicked right in the beginning. It took a little while for me to actually kind of get familiar with things, kind of set up the foundation or the groundwork that I could build upon before I got really into it. And I'd like to be able to translate this same passion into music production too, because I have Logic Pro, I have the software. I mean, I have like the MIDI controller. I have an electric guitar that I can plug into that. I have the audio interface. I mean, you plug the electric guitar into the audio interface, excuse me. And then I have like a decent computer that I could run all this stuff. But right now it's just so daunting to me. I can't get into it. And I'm starting to wonder, is this one of my passions? Is this one of my hobbies that I'll be sticking to and that I'm just doing for the fun of it? Or is it something where I just want to be a musician? It's too early to tell. I know that I fell in love with guitar once to the point where I would be playing until my fingers started to bleed. And then I had to, then I would be like in a hurry to go to sleep so that the next day I could wake up and play more. And I missed that passion. Of course, the passion has morphed into, I'm now really into the YouTube content and stuff. And I don't see that going anywhere because of how heightened this passion is and how proactive I am. And back when I was doing music, in terms of like playing guitar and being all passionate about that was back in my early days of college. And I had so many distractions, you know, girls, partying, unhealthy behaviors. A lot of it was mainly unhealthy. But I still persevered and I still played it. So I'm just hoping that music eventually clicks for me. And I'm still, even though I've found many passions and hobbies that I'm probably going to be doing until the day that I croak, I still am on the lookout for more. Because I believe that the more you can explore life and the more that you're excited about, it's just going to add to your life. And it's probably going to make you live longer. You know, I've heard of studies where people who have something to look forward to and are really excited to do things, they actually live much longer. And I'm assuming one of the reasons is just because they're more physically active, but there's definitely the component of it's keeping your brain sharp. By engaging in activities, your brain is like a muscle. It's like a muscle, like how your skeletal muscles are, in terms of they need to be worked in order to maintain their size and strength. If you don't work your chest, for example, for like a year, it's going to atrophy. It's going to become smaller. And then you're not going to be able to bench press as much weight, not nearly as much weight. And if you try, then you're going to injure yourself. I'm not saying you're guaranteed to injure yourself, but there's a much higher chance that you will, since you're not at that level anymore. Same thing with your brain. If you don't keep continuing to learn, then eventually you're not going to have those same neural connections and you're not going to be the same, you know? And especially as we age, the age-related decline is a very real thing. That's why Alzheimer's is so apparent and such a big thing that we as a human race have to hurdle past and get over and eventually cure, hopefully, because it's so apparent as we age. And it's such a terrifying thing. It's one of my biggest fears in life is to have Alzheimer's and just forget who people are in my past and, you know, everything like that. So by keeping your mind nice and fresh, especially through exercise. I mean, exercise is definitely a form of keeping your mind fresh in the sense of exercise triggers neuroplasticity because it releases BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, in the brain, which kind of like bathes the brain in all of these like fantastic things. And it's very neuroprotective, especially cardiovascular exercise like what I'm doing right now. This definitely counts in terms of this is going to help me keep my neuroplasticity alive and thriving and trigger it and ultimately help me offset age-related decline. So additionally, God, I'm super into the longevity field as well. When I started my YouTube channel, that was one of the things that would really get me going was the longevity sphere. I made a ton of videos way back in the day. Sauna, cold plunge, mental reframing, etc., etc. Just so many different things. I talked about what I just talked about with neuroplasticity. God, I made so many different videos. I can't remember all of them, of course, but I made so many, and I released them once to twice a week. That was back before I was really rolling, and it was more challenging, but I'm super fascinated in that field of longevity. It was to the point where I was taking M&M, things called nucleotide. Shoot, I can't remember the acronym. That's kind of embarrassing. But I'm not a medical doctor. We'll just put that out there. I have a degree in kinesiology and a ton of practical and doing my own research. However, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know everything when it comes to medical stuff. But I was saying M&M, and resveratrol was a huge kick too. I was saying resveratrol for a while. David Sinclair, he was really big on that one. That one has, not so recently, I think like a couple years ago even, was proved to be bunk. And people were so gung-ho about that one, resveratrol, because it's what's found in red wine in very small amounts. So people were like, oh, shoot, I can drink and live longer. People are always looking for an excuse to either drink or smoke or do unhealthy behaviors and to live longer. And that's why these pseudoscience articles are spread so rapidly everywhere, then people take them as fact. Even when there's not enough research. There was not enough research on resveratrol, yet people just latched onto it since they heard that, like, BuzzFeed, all caps, freaking headline, attention-grabbing title. And they were like, oh, yeah, this is sick. I'm going to be doing this forever now. But unfortunately, that's the way things go in science. Little things are found from small sample sizes, and then they're extrapolated upon, and the media picks it up for sales, and then everybody hears about it, and they all think that it's true. And then another paper will come out disproving that same thing that was proven not too long ago. And that's why you got to wait for a very long time before you actually latch on to something and decide that it's going to be a good idea. That's why I'm kind of reserving myself. In my early heyday, like my early 20s, late teen years, I was buying the most random crap. I was following this one dude on YouTube, complete scammer. I didn't know anything about biomechanics or anatomy back then, so I believed all of the horse crap that he was selling. I won't throw any names out there, but I ended up buying all these crap supplements, which don't actually really do anything, because the human body, once it's kind of topped off on certain vitamins and minerals, the rest it just puts in a bloodstream where it'll get pissed out, because your piss is ultimately filtered blood. So you're not really actually using a ton of these vitamins and minerals if you're taking a ton. That's where I think that a good multivitamin can come into handy. I know that a lot of people have heard, all the vitamins don't work, blah, blah, blah. You get it all from your food. It's so cheap. I think it's so cheap. You can go to Costco and get like a 500 count for like $15 to $20. And that's going to last you like over a year and a half. And then you know that your bases are being covered. So maybe you have like a day where you're hungover, or a day where you just don't have time to eat, or a day where you can't afford to eat, or, whatever it may be. Then just by popping that multivitamin, it's going to cover all of your bases that you weren't sure were covered. Who cares if some vitamins are being pissed out? I don't know. That's the way I see it regarding multivitamins. And back to the whole research study thing. Now I'm really cautious about new supplements, but the old ones that are still kicking, that have like years and years and decades of research, I think it's time to just accept that you should buy them, like creatine. I would hope that all of you are on creatine that are watching my channel, because you're probably, if you found my channel, it's probably at the bottom of the search feed. Excuse me. And therefore, you probably have seen a lot of videos prior, and you probably know a thing or two, I would assume. And therefore, you probably know that creatine has so many upsides with no real downsides. In fact, they keep finding upsides and no downsides, which is just crazy to me. For instance, creatine has been shown to actually be brain protective, so neuroprotective, and can actually help assist against Alzheimer's. I read something about that. I haven't really looked into the data because I take it anyway. So I'm like, oh, cool, just another positive effect. But of course, it like increases the water weight of your muscles, intramuscular water weight, that is. So it's not actually increasing the adipose tissue water weight. So you're not getting a lot of people, they hear that and they're like, oh, it's going to blow me up and I'm going to look like shit. Not true, guys. Not true at all. It's just going to make your muscles look fuller. And it's not going to actually add any bloat to you. So it's amazing because creatine is already found within the tissues of your body. It's just in very small amounts. And of course, it's found in most meats and fish. So you could eat a lot of meat and fish, all your protein and stuff, get a ton of creatine, but you're not going to get near how much you need. And that's where supplementation comes in. And creatine is very inexpensive too. So I would just recommend buying it. I just buy like NutriCost or something. There's like a name shout out, but I always use NutriCost just because it's very cheap and it seems like their products are really good. Then, since we're on the topic of supplements, additionally, I use things like fish oil, vitamin D3, K2, a multivitamin, like I said, and magnesium. That's it. Oh, and a caffeine pill with theanine. I'll sometimes pop one of those if I'm in a rush. I'm a coffee guy. I love coffee. I'll drink tea too, but coffee is really my favorite. And I love lattes when I'm having more of like a free-flowing day and I'm not super anal about tracking my calories, especially when I'm bulking, but that can add up because lattes, especially if you're buying them out, those are expensive. So we have like an espresso maker. I'll just make a coffee every morning. And then if I'm pretty tired or something, then I'll pop a caffeine pill just to kind of like add in a little bit more. Speaking of caffeine, it's like the best natural performance enhancer. It's crazy. I don't even take pre-workout anymore, though I probably will eventually. In fact, I would love to create my own brand eventually. That'd be incredible. That's like a dream of mine. But for now, I just think that caffeine is the best. And oftentimes I find that I don't need anything more. Caffeine will get me there. It'll get me amped up enough. And then my body will do the rest. You don't need to be super pumped up every time you walk into the gym unless you're like sleep deprived and really struggling with motivation, in my opinion. And even if you think that you can't, I encourage you to just try going without pre-workout or something, assuming that you're curious about it, because maybe you have that mental barrier where you're like, oh crap, I don't have my pre-workout. I'm not going to be able to do this lift. Excuse me. Well, I guarantee that once you actually start pumping the iron, moving the weight around, it's going to feel so much better. Guarantee it, because that's what I found with me. Like now that I record most of my workouts, actually, now it's not really most. I'm recording like 2 exercises. And I normally do around 5, so I guess it's like 40%, 35 to 40% of my workouts now. I used to record literally everything, but the view counts weren't very good. You guys didn't seem to be responding. YouTube didn't really seem to be responding that well to it, so I'm taking a new approach. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that I barely listen to music now, and I don't find that it messes with anything regarding my workout. But anyways, thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.